Шановні колеги, шановні журналісти, всім
Dear colleagues, dear journalists, thank you very much for coming and thank you for those who watch us online. Today there is a day of referendum in the Netherlands. That's a historical day when the Netherlands populations decide whether to support or not the approval act on the EU-Ukrainian Association Agreement. Our speakers are Svitlana Zalischuk, Petro Poroshenko Block faction, Vasyl Myroshnychenko, head of Ukrainian Crisis Media Center, Oleksandr Guzenko, deputy head of Ukrainian Crisis Media Center office in the Netherlands, and Gennadiy Kurochka, co-founder and member of the board Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. And later on we will hear our Ukrainian Academy of Leadership representatives. Now we can see Vasyl Myroshnychenko, Svitlana Zalischuk on our screens. We will ask Svitlana Zalischuk now. We will ask her what is happening today. Is there any information on the turnout of voters? The fresh news are as follows. You know that the largest media and sociological polling companies agreed not to provide interim results today of the polling. The tentative results on the turnout and the tentative results of voting will be available tomorrow, and we are on the way now, and we have just received some information which gives us the opportunity to say that the turnout is expected to be 28 or 31%, so the intrigue remains. And what about the weather? We heard that there is it is raining in the Netherlands. Yes, it was sun in the morning, but in the second half of the day there will be raining. The exit poll will be published after 9 o'clock in the evening. This will be the fresh data so that we can make some outcomes, some conclusions. And the last question to you: did you have the opportunity to talk to Netherlands politicians? How do they see this situation? We understand that they have several scenarios are possible, and what will be the next steps according to the bad scenario, the worst scenario, if the no campaign will win. I'm here for the 10th day. During 10 days we have visited 100 towns and cities. Sociological polls as of today, surveys, they say if 30% turnout will be striking, there will be more no votes than yes votes. The press published scenario of developments of the situation. We have analyzed it. We know that this referendum is a consultative one. So the government after it should return this issue to the parliament, and this week or next week the further decision will be developed. So it is obvious if the population divides, for example, 48 to 52%, this will allow to remain in the association agreement in place. But if the gap between the population, the division will be larger, then the government will not be able to ignore the results of this referendum. I would like to remind that this is the second large referendum referendum for 200 years in the Netherlands. Political consultations will take place later. How to find a way out from this situation? The agreement on association is a mixed agreement. Everything, all articles concerning free trade agreement will remain in place, but 15% they concern relationship between Ukraine and the Netherlands as a EU member. Then as to these 15%, there should be some decision developed later by politicians. Now you can see here Oleksandr Guzenko from Transparency International, MP of Netherlands Parliament, and Alexandra Matvichuk, and representatives of NGOs in our bus. We have bought Netherlands newspapers. You can see them on the screen now. They are the major media in the Netherlands, and every page contains some information about Ukraine. This is a positive campaign of the yes side conducted by NGOs. So not only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also MPs and NGOs from Ukraine are now here campaigning so that Netherlands vote yes. And now I'm giving the floor to the volunteers of Ukrainian Academy of Leadership, Petro Kochergan, Valeria Golerova, Oksana Krasovska, Ivanna Grebenyak.
Our representatives, you can see our volunteers here in the studio. I have a question to Vasyl Myroshnychenko. I know that yesterday there were some debates, and they continued, and also what are the main problems that can bring no above yes? So there were many discussions, and we took part in the debates. Machiavelli and club, and also there was a representative from Socialist Party, and we followed the question, and we were interested in Panama Papers scandal, and the information that we bring to society in the Netherlands, that this agreement, it is signed with the people of Ukraine, with the state of Ukraine, not with some officials. And due to the implementation of this agreement, we strengthen civil society in Ukraine, we strengthen independent media that are the instruments to fight corruption, to reveal corruption. And it's very important in this context. We somehow show the situation in the positive context. So the information is known, and we brought it to the level that Ukrainian media can openly speak about it. But many Dutch people, they may believe that this is their impressions on Ukraine, because the rating of corruption is high, and they see it as one of the proof why they should say no in the referendum. And it's very difficult to speak about fundamental things, because these are separate opinions of individuals, and there is no systemic view at the moment. So the question to Alexander, so they were speaking about the factors for and against Ukraine, and friendship or not friendship with Russia on the 4th or 5th place, and on the 1st place, no argument is corruption, of course. And can you comment on this? Is this discussed in society? And we know that you have been long there, so what is public opinion? The Dutch, they also don't like corruption in Ukraine. In Ukraine, there is an idea that corruption is the main enemy, not Russia, not conflict, or some external factors, but corruption is the main problem of Ukraine that stops the country from moving ahead. And the Dutch people, they understand this problem. They want Ukraine to overcome internal problems. Ukraine should fight corruption and to come to some effective result. And then it can deal with external issues, such as, for example, aggression of Russia. We understand that a lot of efforts have been implemented, and Svitlana Zalischuk also paid a lot of positive influence on Gennadiy Kurochka, who had one of the most interesting projects, Open Netherlands OP project that was presented in Ukraine Crisis Media Center. Gennadiy, tell us please about the visit of children to Netherlands and what are the results, and whether it was possible to change the attitude towards Ukraine due to this project. Svitlana Zalischuk, that showed us Telegraph paper. This is the leading paper, 450,000 copies. So there was a positive article about our children in the context that kids of Ukraine, this is the future of Europe. And we didn't expect to get these results. When this project started, we, as people who deal with communication, we foresaw some risks, that our opponents will say that we use children in political campaign, but we were surprised. So there was positive attitude towards the visit of kids, and people felt positive emotions, and this is very important. 1.5 million people saw this in YouTube, and the Dutch people, they have positive attitude towards this. And also there was one more positive component under our kids. Many of them didn't travel abroad. They didn't even travel by plane. So they were like in fairy tale in this wonderful country with such a wonderful fairy tale architecture, and they wanted to see real Holland and to see how people live here. And it was wonderful that we provided with our children with such a wonderful opportunity, and they took part in some training, some sessions, they sang, and children understood that they have to make some efforts in order to represent Ukraine at the high level. And we are very pleased with the results of the project, and we hope that this project will influence the results of the voting. Thank you. So we see that emotions play their role, not only rational arguments, and it's very good. And we have here young people, new leaders, and we know that you also were in Netherlands recently, have been to Netherlands recently, and we would like you to share your experience, and were you able to convince some part of society, and what are your forecasts, and what is the lessons that were learned? Are you effective in these actions?
Good morning. My name is Kristina Shabat. I will tell about the campaign Ukraine Freedom, which we prepared within an 8-day period. We set the goal, quantitatively measurable goal, to contact 5 persons to find 5 friends during 5 days in Netherlands. So we had such bracelets on our hands saying Ukraine freedom. And we had leaflets, flyers. We contacted members of population, citizens of Netherlands, and we distributed flyers on the one faces hashtags, and on the other it was some facts about Ukraine. We have managed to get twice higher results than we expected. We were wearing the T-shirts which you now see on us, and many people asked us to our materials, our printed papers, and we are very happy that we have invented a new tool, propaganda in trains, because there are very many people moving by trains in the Netherlands, so we didn't want to waste any minute of time, and we started to propaganda of Ukraine about this referendum, and even one group of Netherlands people decided to spend 5 days campaigning on the yes side in trains in the Netherlands, and in online at our Facebook website. We have managed to engage more than 1.5 million people. This is a very high indicator. We are very proud because we are just volunteers, and we are 17, 18 years of age, but we were Petro Kochergan. I would like to thank our colleagues from Ukrainian Crisis Media Center in Netherlands, because they helped us with preparations. And on the second, I would like to say that without constructive arguments, we can use emotions. As for me, it is not so. I was in the team which was in trains. We were talking what we believed in. We are not very high experts in economics or international law or jurisprudence, but we were talking about our own experience. We shared our experience about Euromaidan events. Maybe this is manipulations by emotions, but these were true stories, because most of us took part in Euromaidan events. And this was the first message. The second message was to show that we are not politically engaged. We tried to make dialogue between Ukrainian citizens and Netherlands citizens. Maybe referendum, it's only the opportunity. Dubovetsky said it was the dialogue which we did not start in the past. So it is not so important for me what the result of this referendum would be. I am proud that the picture of Ukraine will be better thanks to our efforts. We took books, we distributed them about Ukrainian inventors, and not in political context, that Ukraine has future ahead. The Netherlands people do not believe their politicians, and people who have been living for 3-4 months there, they observed this no confidence. And one citizen of Rotterdam, he said that I'm a student, and he said that he should understand how to vote on this referendum, and he came for with a visit, and we established contacts, and now he informed us about the situation on site from the Netherlands. So we started such new contacts. And in Rotterdam at 12 o'clock a.m. there were about 30% voters turnout. And Valeria, I would like to add some facts. Very many people ask what was the response of the Netherlands citizens when we approached them in the streets talking about Ukraine. Our T-shirts played very important role when people saw what our T-shirts saying. They understood who we are at once, and we also used bicycles, and people saw that we are from Ukraine, and even this non-verbal tool worked to remind people about Ukraine, and the reactions of Netherlands populations were very positive. They understood that the association agreement of association was not understood in correct way by the Netherlands people. We tried to explain that this is more of FTA agreement, free trade agreement. So we explained them just with the plain language, and response was very good. We told that we are students, and we approached students in universities, and very many times we visited debates. And those debates with opposition, they provided us very large experience, and now we are very experienced. We understood that their arguments are not grounded but facts. By facts, so we have managed to persuade people because we have facts, so we gained very good experience. Thank you.
I would like to add that these were friends we were searching for, and firstly we found some common ground, and these are freedom, human rights, and these were our slogans with which we came to people of the Netherlands, and we searched for friends. And people were glad to communicate with us because we are not politicians, as my colleagues already said. And we do not stop, and we follow the events. And yesterday and the day before yesterday, we shot a video where we express our gratitude to the people of the Netherlands that we were able to influence and to communicate with them. And one more video was shot on stereotypes of Ukraine. It is a satiric nature, and it's very interesting. And we prepare our gratitude, our thanks, because we should be grateful to those people you visit and with whom you want to communicate in the future. And the last question to Vasyl, to Gennadiy, and Alexander. We understand very briefly, we understand that not everything depends on Ukraine, and there are many anti-European European influences, and some people believe that this cooperation is not that important, and how we can fight this argument, and whether the situation can be improved. The matter is, the situation is that this referendum started as against European Union, anti-Brussels attitude, and we cannot counteract this argument because we represent Ukraine, and our task was to demonstrate and to improve the image of Ukraine, and in this way to influence. And anti-European attitudes are high in the Netherlands. There are many refugees from Syria and other countries, and there are you remember the acts of terror in Brussels, and people here, they know about many IDPs in Ukraine, and they say if you sign this agreement, so all those Ukrainians with guns will come here. So this is a manipulation of facts and threats. So they say that some money will be provided through this agreement because elites in Ukraine are corrupt, and all this is lie. There's no money, and the refugees won't come because they didn't come in 2 years, and they won't come in the future. And this agreement do not envisage the free movement of people. So the level is different, and of course, we try to counteract negative factors, but no camp is better mobilized because it's easier to mobilize people who are against their power, Brussels, and they say this is kind of protest, and people should respect it, but the future of Ukraine is threatened by these arguments. For us, it's not policy, it's the only way of development. And the Academy of Leadership student and our children from Hope Netherlands, Hope Project, and NGOs and other organizations that were involved in this process, they tried to improve the attitude towards Ukraine. So if you have some questions, please raise your hand, and you have the opportunity to ask questions. So there are no questions, so maybe I will ask the first question. So the question to Gennadiy and to Sashko. We understand that this campaign, from the point of view of civil society, this campaign was really great, and many people tried to do everything possible. That depends on us to some extent. So this is not the last campaign. Maybe there will be some campaigns in the future. So what are the lessons learned, and where should we focus our attention on? So how to promote Ukraine abroad? I believe that if there was no Maidan 2 years ago, there won't be so many people interested who did what they could at their own level. So these are thousands and thousands of Ukrainians. Maybe some groups here are seen, but there are many more people are involved. And positive moment is that many Ukrainians that were present in the Netherlands, and previously there were no Ukrainians in the Netherlands. So I have an idea to create a project, to start a project of cooperation between Holland and Ukraine. This is the first experience for us to work in the context of this referendum. And when Ukraine joined EU in some years, I understand the scope of work that should be done to convince the countries. It's very difficult to convince the Dutch in the opportunities of cooperation with Ukraine, and for us it will be difficult to convince all the countries, the member of EU, that Ukraine be the member of a full-fledged member of the European Union. I would like to add.
It seems to me that Gennadiy gave a very good parallel with Euromaidan event. If we look at Euromaidan, before Maidan, we had lived in the country where the president was a corrupt person, but within 3 months the civil society have mobilized and made very much for the country, more than all its previous presidents. The same situation we can see now. The situation is divided into the situation before the referendum and now. When the referendum takes place there and during the 3 months before the referendum, far more efforts have been made during these 4 months than it was during the situation in the past, before the referendum was proclaimed. Yulia Vilichovska, Ukrainian Crisis Media Center in the network, the video has been disseminated from the 66 party youth faction. It was a funny video how Netherlands population on tanks arrived to some village that has the name Krim. And have you seen any other non-standard actions, activities in the Netherlands? Well, there were many different activities. One of that, it was computer game. I can tell some more about creative approaches. The Netherlands is a very creative country and they're doing everything in creative ways, starting with design of interior of their flats. Vivid example is website Rainbow Vogue. The website was created for the referendum directly. The target audience was representatives from NGOs, LGBT NGOs. The arguments appealing to such target audience are collected just on that website. The next was such a computer game was created. Its essence is that terrorists and occupants try to attack the Crimean parliament, and the Netherlands person have virtual machine gun to defend Crimean parliament and use it with shooting. And there is such a website, complex.net, and we went there. There are 30 questions there which you should answer to understand how to vote on the referendum. This is a practical tool because this agreement is very complicated. First of all, the question concerns foreign trade in the EU, and in Brussels they discuss how to stop insinuations on political topics. Directly this way, on this Compass website, there was a questionnaire of 10 questions. Different services for which you answer agree, disagree, or don't know, and then after these 10 questions you get an advice how to vote at the referendum. Because people go into referendum, they vote depending on how the question is formulated for the referendum. Most of citizens in the Netherlands think that this is the matter of membership of Ukraine in the EU, but this is not so. They have wrong idea of what the association agreement is. So mechanism, how to go further, how the Parliament of Netherlands, they will have debates before ratification of the agreement. This association agreement, it was put for debates in the parliament. So in the Parliament of Netherlands, the government of Netherlands also plays a vital role to give their argument. You know, we should remember that this is, the results of this referendum are not binding. It will have only consultative impact. Thank you very much for your explanations of what next steps and what developments of situations we can see in future. Thank you very much. Thank you to Academy of Leadership, and we will hope that the results will be good for us, and we will have the opportunity to have some impact today on them. And now we end our working day. Thank you.